Hello, everyone, and good morning, and welcome again to the Pro Ally Energy Insight Series 8. I don't know, in the Christian faith, they would have said maybe 8 is a number of something, but I don't know what the number is. So 8 is just exciting. Right. So thank you for joining us. We are waiting for people to join us. If you have a friend that you want to succeed, not the one that you don't want to succeed, the one that you want to succeed, please share this link to the friend. Let them join us here. We are starting. And while we are waiting for people to join us, I'm going to share with you a very short commercial about why Pro Ally. So enjoy.
In a world where energy powers progress, our company is leading the conversation and engagement towards that brighter future. Welcome to Pro Ally, a communication and stakeholder management company for the energy, STEM, and related sector.
With us, conscientiousness, exceptionalism, and positivity are not just words, but the very core of our existence and dedication to making a difference in the energy industry. From managing diverse industry events, simplifying complex communication, positioning brands and people, to helping organizations deliver practical sustainability initiatives,
we believe that accurate and transparent communication is the key to success in the energy sector. Conscientiousness is at the heart of everything we do. We are more than a business. We are professional experts. We are your ally.
We are meticulous in our approach, ensuring that the information we convey is not only reliable, but also easy to understand. Our services are born to solve these sectorial pain points, tapping into our depth of wisdom, knowledge and understanding, network and proven expertise. At Pro Ally, we don't settle for ordinary. Exceptionalism is our standard.
Our team is made up of experts who constantly strive for excellence, providing our clients with nothing but the best. But it's not just about what we can do. It's about the positive impact we will create. We believe that a positive outlook is crucial in driving change. Our mission: to champion progressive causes and amplify positive impact. We bridge the gap between complex scientific information and accessible communication.
We work tirelessly to ensure that our clients and stakeholders understand and appreciate the significance of their initiatives. At Pro Ally, we are not just a company, we are a movement. A movement driven by conscientiousness, guided by exceptionalism, and fueled by positivity.
Join us on our journey to simplify science communication, amplify positive impacts, and champion progressive causes in the energy industry. Whether you're an organization, stakeholder, brand, partner, or professional in energy and STEM, then welcome to Pro Ally. There is a place for you in our journey. We are Pro Ally, your professional ally, your positive ally.
Visit our website to be a positive part of the energy and STEM revolution at www.proallyworld.com or send us an email at proally.org@gmail.com or info@proallyworld.org. Pro Ally, championing progressive causes, amplifying positive impact.
Oh, wow. Like every time I even watch the video myself, I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we building here? But thank you so much for joining us. I see that we already have a couple of people online. This is being streamed as like the same, pattern as the last time. Now we are streaming on LinkedIn. We are streaming streaming on Facebook and also on YouTube. So please catch up on all that we have been doing. If you have missed previous edition, it's also a place to rewatch back. But I mean, why rewatch back when you can join this watch party and be a part of it? So we're not advocating that you do a rewatch, except of course you need the knowledge after, which you will do. But when the event is on, that's when you need to be in the show. So thank you. We're going to get started. Our guest speakers and friends to me personally, and friends of the industry, and people that, a lot of professionals also look up to are here, and they are excited to be here. I can tell you for sure, everybody that comes on our show, they are excited to be here. So, and you also, you're excited to be here. So thank you for joining us. Today's one is special. It's our first sponsored event. So I want to start by saying a big thank you and shout out to our sponsor for the first Energy Insight Series edition, Cypher Crescents. This is the point where we're in a radio station, like this is the point where they'll just do like a drum or something sound. But we'd like to say thank you to the digital tech company, Cypher Crescents, known for their research, training, technology, and innovative approach. They work across all sectors, started out in the energy, but they are now innovative and bringing their digital solutions across all sectors. So whether you're maritime, whether you are, even finance, whether you are FMCG, whether you are whatever, please reach out to Cypher Crescent. We'll be sharing more details about them. We're going to hear them give a sponsor speech as well. So don't go until you hear what Cypher Crescent does and the solution that they bring to the world. Like I say, the energy STEM sector is about solution, and there is nothing worse than our inability to tell our story. And this is what ProAlly is doing, is amplifying the positive impact of this sector, democratizing the opportunities, and socializing the sector. We are not that rigid. If I was rigid now, you'd have said I was already STEM people. They're always very boring. See, I used red lipstick for your sake. So many things to unpack, but thank you. Thank you. I'd like to also, just share some interesting stories around what we are doing at ProAlly before we get into the focus conversation for today, which is how to use your current skills for career transition, for an effective career transition. We want you to grow as professionals, regardless of the phases that you move into. Yeah, your skill sets never get redundant. And we're also coming up with an initiative for our students called the Nexus Community. You may have been seeing that, but it's all around empowering students that are studying STEM courses in the university with power skill. Soft skill, it's called in some conventional word, but they are really power skill. And the way to do that is we don't want to wake up to young professionals who can't do basic communication, who lack interpersonal skills, who can't even write a technical report for the life of them. So we are bringing this to the school, so that when our graduates come out, they are like pink. So if you have a brother, a sister, a junior one in Nigerian universities studying STEM, the Nexus Community is all for them. And this is where I thought stop the commercial about ProAlly. Now let's go into the topic for today. I'm going to be handing over at this point to Onome Jonathan Rotimi, who is the Business Development Director at Cypher Crescent, who is moderating the session for us today with our speakers, and they will be getting into this topic. How do you use what you have to get what you want out of your career? That's the easy way I can put it in, what you call layman's English. But bringing up Onome on stage at this point to join me while I introduce her. So welcome, Onome. A pleasure every time to have you.
Thank you, Tubosun. Well done, ProAlly. Great to be here. And Very interesting series so far. I've been following for past few months, and I see that the topics are very, very relatable and very practicable with what is going on in the current society. So, thank you very much. And more interestingly, is today's topic. Leveraging your current skills for career transitions. I mean, there's a lot of dynamism going on in the society right now. Regardless of what you studied as your background, profession. So sometimes you just find yourself diving in. I mean, during our own days back then, jam decides what you want to become in future. Yeah. So I mean, you're supposed to have a high scores to study medicine or study law, and then you get a lower score and they say, okay, you are going into zoology, and you're like, oh yeah, sure, fine, zoology is fine as long as I have an admission. But somehow life is just so very interesting, and it goes round and round, and you find yourself, you find this unrelenting passion, and you find yourself back into what you want to become. So there's a little bit of a gap in between transition. So that's what we're going to be looking at right now. We have very interesting, very relatable, very amicable speakers backstage. And when they come up, they're going to be throwing very serious, light intelligence into this thing, like, okay, this is my background and this is how I found myself in another career path, and this is what I enjoy doing, this is what I'm passionate about. And really, at the end of it, is there any knowledge lost? Does it all come together to make some sense? So okay, so it's fine. So I wouldn't be doing much of the topic, but I also have a story of a career transition, right? I have a background in geosciences, and today I'm a business development technology solution service provider. So, does it all come together? Was there any regret? How did I transit? But I think it's first to listen to one of our very strong speakers. I'll be introducing to you Dennis. Yes. So Dennis is a very, very interesting and versatile person. Let's get to know more about Dennis. So first, a little bit of background about Dennis. Hmm.
Ah,
Dennis currently hi Dennis.
hi, how's it going?
Okay. You say ha. Let me tell them about you. Let me tell them a little bit of your background and the many, many things you've done in this world. Yes. So
Nice.
Dennis is currently a commercial account manager, BDC, and also an active community volunteer. He previously served at ATB as business banking advisor and senior manager entrepreneurship. Surprisingly, now this is where the twist comes from. Prior to his banking career, Dennis has been a geoscientist with ExxonMobil. Did you see the twist? From commercial banking to ExxonMobil. I'm still struggling to see where the relationship is. So you're going to tell us about that, give us some insight. He was also a production geologist. That is he practiced as a production geologist with Shell Upstream International in Nigeria at some point in his career journey. Is very diversified, versatile skills, diverse career transition. So, Dennis, how did you get into all of this? I mean, tell us about the relationship. How did a petroleum geologist or a production geologist with ExxonMobil get into banking? Then come back to the real questions. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Even sometimes too. Like, thank you so much for having me. Like some days too, I sit down and I ask myself like, how did this happen? Because I think I got into banking and I'm very comfortable to say I got into banking by mistake. Like interested when I got out of uni, I went to BSc. I did geology and mining from the University of Jos. Interesting. When we finished, the first job I got was working at First Bank. For a couple of months, and I was in customer service. But I always, well, like thinking back, it was one of the best jobs I had because at that point I had this opportunity to be able to serve people, to be able to people trying to find, hey, what's my account balance, or can you help me do this? I really enjoyed doing that, but in hindsight, it was something I enjoyed, I loved, and went to worked for Shell for a couple of years, and also at ExxonMobil. Interesting when I moved to Canada at the point of the downturn in the oil and gas sector, that I started looking for a job, and somebody offered me a job I got a job at a call center, and I'll tell you, I got a job at a call center at the it's called, the bank's called ATB, the Alberta Treasury Branch, because I just needed something to do. Apparently, when I got to the job at ATB at the call center, like I'm a very humble guy, I didn't care about where I was coming from. But interestingly, how like my personal, like those soft skills of trying to communicate with people, trying to understand the problems they had, and trying to solve the problems they had, kind of just elevated the show. So interestingly, I would have all these people dropping feedback saying, "Hey, I spoke to this guy, Dennis. He went far above and beyond to help us. We were able to do this. We're able to get that. Nobody has ever spoken to me that way. Those sort of things." So it's interesting because I plan to do this job for maybe like 2 months, 3 months to pay my bills. Then I was going to run away, that kind of thing. Then interestingly, somebody heard about like this guy that gets like if we had like 100 reviews, I had 60% of the reviews. And somebody had heard about that in business banking. They say, "Hey, there's this guy who everybody talks about, who everybody wants to talk to." And at that time in business banking, they were having issues. They were having issues with their customer appreciation index. So that's where I got involved. So they got me into business banking to be able to help with that as well. So interesting, because I didn't know anything about business banking, and the hard skills I learned, the hard skills out there, understanding financial statements, doing all of that sort of stuff. But it's interesting because of the soft skills still kind of elevated me as well, because I was working with small to medium sized businesses, and understanding their problems, not counting them as a number, wanting to help them as much as possible, giving them the best advice, and just being there for them, kind of just elevated my practice as well. And I kind of grew really, really fast. So like in 2 years, I was senior manager entrepreneurship. I was working with lots of businesses. And in 2021, I moved to Business Development Bank of Canada, where right, I work as a senior commercial accounts manager now. I work in our mid-market stream as well, getting businesses, set them up, or if they need to expand up to maybe having loans up to about $50 million, get that done for them as well. And also the main contact for our Black entrepreneur banking as well. So basically, I help with our underserved markets, being a champion for that as well. So it's interesting, like when I think about where I've come, it's interesting. And now uh, I'm 8 years. I'm 8 years in banking, right? Compared to when I think about like the how many 12, 13 years I was a geologist. Um, so yeah, that's it's a long story to a short question. So I apologize.
No,
So
it's
that
fine.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I really can very relate with you, But from all that you've said, I hear so much of I try to help people. I see a challenge, they come to me. So that means there are some skills that are actually inbuilt, your soft skills were there and your flair for helping people, right? So, and this has to do with leveraging your current skills for career transition. So I think things just happened, right?
yeah.
Leveraging on the skills that you have, and that brought you to the limelight, that took you to where you are currently. And at the same time, you found, you know, fulfillment in what you do using your skills. So yeah, so for professionals on the call, I would like to ask my first question. And it says, how can professionals identify and articulate their transferable skills when considering a career transition? Right. So the question again is, how can they identify and articulate their transferable skills when considering a career transition? Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for that question. I think one of the first things is to even identify them. You need to identify your transferable skills. Hard skills sometimes are not transferable. Like for example, I've not touched a seismic interpretation in the last couple of
Mhm.
years. However, I have some clients in oil and gas. So each time they want to make fun, like we want to make fun, I get to their offices, they give me logs and like, "Hey Dennis, tell us what's going on." And I was like, "I'm not going to give you my professional opinion." So but however, you need to identify those skills, right? For me, one of the ways I was able to do it is when I moved, I did this program. It's called Higher Landing. I live in Calgary, which is in Alberta. So there's this program offered called Higher Landing. At that point, that program was helping lots of oil and gas people were out of jobs, and so that program was helping to identify people's skills that were transferable. So what it did was looked at your soft skills and and say, hey, basically my soft skills are applicable to this industry, to that industry, to that industry. So basically, the first thing I will say is identify those skills, because when you identify those skills, that is when you'll be able to apply them to so which is the specific industry you're looking for. And in that in that program, a couple of things were thought of. So, like you have three steps. First of all, you look at the transition. Then secondly, the branding, and the third thing is the marketing. That whole transition is know what makes you unique, right? You're unique. There are certain things that make you unique more than everybody else. Maybe it's negotiation skills. Maybe you're just somebody who looks deeper than everybody else. Maybe you're somebody that just shows so much empathy, but there has to be something that makes you more unique. So when you identify that, which makes you more unique. At once you do that, you become employable and irresistible, right? People like say, hey, this is the value this person brings to the organization. So I would say that identify those skills. When you identify those skills, then you start finding where they are relevant. They might not be relevant in every area, but you need to find where they're relevant. And the other thing again you need to find, I always say again, is where your heart connects with your mind, right? In helping people, in trying to go above and beyond, right? My head kind of works with my mind in that way, so I'm able to deliver exceptional customer experience. So yeah, that's I think that's where I'm going to stop. Identify them first. When you identify them, then find where they're applicable, because they could be applicable in different industries. The hard skills are not lost, like me trying to do seismic interpretation, well log analysis, and all that. All that hasn't, for me, I brought that knowledge into banking, into credits, right? So because I'm able to see things much more deeper, I see the bigger picture, right? I'm able to do more risk analysis. I'm able to articulate most of those things together. So all those my geoscience experience was not wasted, because I've applied those sort of things in understanding how people do things. They run their day-to-day business as well.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, so I'll put you on hold. There are a lot of nuggets that you've shared in such a very short time. And I mean, for me, the highlight was identifying your unique skills, knowing where your relevance is, and where your heart connects with your mind. So everything will just align together to give yourself the big picture and all of that. I'll come back to you. So like I said earlier, we have two very, very strong and interesting speakers. I'll be sharing insights today. So this is a point where I bring the second speaker on stage, and she's a very pretty lady. She's quite very pretty. And so the first thing is about also very a very, very unique diversity, right? And interestingly, I'll tell you the twist about it. She's a lover of arts. So and you're wondering, okay, so what has art got to do with Energy Series, and what skills is she going to be sharing? So on the other end, she's worked with as an expertise in strategy and digital transformation across multi sectors for 2 decades. That's about 20 years, and she's currently the general manager of strategy and business transformation at Doman Long Engineering. Before this role, she has leveraged her skills to transition several job roles on her career journey. So she's going to be telling us about those roles, those journey, and what's the relationship. How are we mixing arts with business, with uh, Energy Series, and all of that. Hi, Eddie Young. Nice to meet you. Good morning. Yeah, your audio, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So hi, Onome, how you doing?
Very well, fine, thank you.
Hello, everybody online.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit about me. My name is Edidium, as you've heard Onome say, and yes, I work in strategy and business transformation. And what I do is I basically define the steps as needed for a business to get to where it is they want to do, and then just basically drive change management across the organization in various aspects as it relates to people, the business model, the processes. Now, how did I get there? I started initially as an HSSC advisor, but that's not where it really starts. So I went to school and I studied geology. Did that, passed out, and then I went to the Shell Intensive Training Program. Don't know if anybody has heard of that, so SITP. And it was basically like you could say a training ground for people so that they would up what it is that we had learned in school and mold us so that we were a better fit for a job in the oil and gas industry. And when I got done with that, I went into Shell. Unfortunately, for some reason, I was put in HSSC. Well, I said, okay, I rolled up my sleeves and I did what I had to do. But I was able to navigate out of that because I really, really, really did want to do what it was I had studied in school, which was geology. So I eventually got into exploration geoscience, and I did that for a bit. I liked it quite a bit. So the thing about geology is that in my opinion, it leverages on what I like to do in terms of art, and just being able to develop, geological maps and see how, contours and lines create this
topography was something I really enjoyed. Some of the other aspects didn't love it that much, but overall I really enjoyed geology because it also allowed me the opportunities to play in nature. However, I came to a point where, I was kind of burned out. I wanted to do something else. I wasn't even sure what it was I wanted to do. So I took a career break. That lasted for about 2 years. In that time, I built my art business, and I still paint till today and have exhibitions and stuff. But I also really needed to think about what it was I had wanted to do, because I'd never really thought about a second career. I'd always thought it was geology for life. But now it was no longer for life. It was something else. So I'm sat at home and I'm painting. But I know that because I'm multi-talented, I knew that I like the sciencey aspects of art. So like in terms of sewing, I like the pattern making where you're thinking of the numbers, you're trying to dissect the lines, you're trying to match the line. That's the kind of thing I really enjoy. I've got an inquisitive brain and I really want to, and I like to put it to work. The second thing I realized is that I enjoy being in a place where I can effect change and where I have, like a buzzing environment, not because I like being part of the buzz, but I just sort of like being in the center of it and listening to what's happening and observing and using that to make a change. So I have friends, generally, it's something that happens, like I sit with a friend and we're chatting, and before you know it, I'm like, oh, do you know you can do this? You can do that, you can do this. So that's I like to fix problems, you could say. That's it. So thinking about that I like to fix problems, I like to be at the center of a change, started driving me. And then also I've always loved tech. So back in the days, and this is going to be, it's great to kind of give off my age, but when I left secondary school, I actually learned programming and I learned MS-DOS. And that was just at the peak of before C++ was coming into the space. So I've always had this aspect of me that kind of enjoys or wants to be part of tech, wants to be part of creating things, not just art creation, but also like, some big invention. So I had to explore that aspect of me. And that's when I started looking into UI UX, because UI UX kind of intersects art, right? And then business analysis, strategy, project management, and kind of leveraging on some of the skills. So some of the soft skills I had, because hard skills, maybe not necessarily throwing that in the bag when you're transitioning to something that's completely different. I had to leverage some of those, and those of course were collaboration. So of course, when you're drilling a well, you've got to collaborate. Your well engineers, your petrophysicists, the whole shebang. You have to collaborate. So you bring that knowledge
into what it is you're doing. So I thought about that. I thought about project management, technical writing, critical thinking, risk analysis and assessment, data analysis and interpretation, in fact, because what we're doing as geologists is interpreting data. And from that data, I can tell you, oh, go to this particular depth and you can find oil and gas and something like that. So leveraging on those skills began to show me that there were other places I could play in that didn't have to be technical geology, but those skills were going to hold me in good stead for a different career. And in the end, that was strategy, because I really, really like to think, like, you know, piece things together and use that to build a story. So that's kind of like how I pretty much ended up where I am today. So you're muted. Muted. Onome, you're muted. You have to unmute.
Oh my God, sorry. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so very, very interesting, and I like the dynamism out of everything that you spoke on. So one thing that really, really struck me was that there was a season of where you were really not clear about what you wanted to do, and you were really overwhelmed by what you were doing at the moment, and you had to take a break. And I also like another highlight for me out of all that you said was, in as much as you weren't sure what you were going to do with those skills, you were just acquiring skills like UI, UX, computer programming, and all of this. And at the end, they all came around to form one clear picture, and you found yourself, okay, yes. So apparently, so this is what it all turned out to be. So I think, yeah, so it's okay for people not to be clear about what they really want to be at the initial stage, but at the same time, they should be able to identify their unique skills, just like Dennis mentioned earlier, and eventually to all come together to put a play, and you'll find yourself using all the skills to solve problems like you like to do. You like to, solve problem. You like to be at the center of change, fix problem, and it's very interesting when you have the skills to solve this problem. How much more when they start paying you to solve these problems? So very, very good, very insightful. Thank you for sharing. I'll actually just ask one question before I bring Dennis on again. Yeah, so this question is for both Didi and Dennis, right? So the question is, there's some overlooked skills or experiences that professionals don't realize can be valuable in transitioning. Skills. I'm taking that question for Didi because you talked about, well, I wasn't really sure what I wanted, but I know I had to learn UI UX. I know I had to learn I knew I had a passion for arts. I knew I could learn computer. So you were learning all the skills. So what are some overlooked skills or experiences that professionals they don't even realize that can be valuable in transitioning into their new career path? So yeah, we'll start with Didi, then Dennis can throw more light on that. Yeah.
So I think it's really around the soft skills. For some reason, when you're in a career, you're thinking of all your hard technical skills, right? And that's exactly what happened to me. So when I started thinking about leaving where I was working, I really didn't know what to do because I'm like, should I go and do a master's? I don't think I'm cut out for management. Should I do an MBA? Oh my God, I don't know accounting and finance. I'm going to flunk. But I didn't quite realize that the soft skills would hold me in good stead. So understanding how to write and write really well, understanding communication, collaboration, that just seems like a fluffy word, but just the fact that you understand that when a problem is put before you, who are the right stakeholders you bring into the room to have a complete and comprehensive and effective conversation to start the process is important. Project management, it seems, namby-pamby now that we have project managers everywhere, but just understanding that I took a skill. So for example, when we had something called the XORP process, which was your exploration, opportunity realization process. And it was in phases. Now, that already helped me to think in a very strategic way. You had to always identify, then you assess, then you taking on that thinking that it's always good to think about things systematically and strategically. That helps you to think about how to resolve something. Another thing I love to do is just always going back to the basics. So if I don't seem to understand something, I strip it all down bare to pretty much 1+1. Where did I learn that from? I learned that from my boss when I was working. Like, he was always like, no, no, no. Let's get back to basics. Where do we start from? Okay, so if it's physics, what's the first principle? What's that first principle? Another thing that helped me was also just understanding some, like a major geological principle, right? Which is especially in exploration, where you should not be afraid to fail. So another thing my boss taught me was, failure is not the end of the world. Why did he say that? He said in exploration, a fail is not necessarily a fail because we're exploring. So because we are exploring, yes, I didn't hit oil, but it tells me now, maybe I'm too far up the anticline. Maybe anticline has overturned. Maybe the gas has escaped. There's information in every bit of it. So thinking of all of those little skills and little basics help you to harness your future. So I would say don't sweat it, because eventually it'll come to you when you understand what it is you enjoy to do. Like, just knowing that, oh, I kind of like enjoy music, helps you begin to say, okay, what exactly is it about music I enjoy? Then you start adding it out. So I think the most underrated are those soft skills, and I get why they're underrated in some ways, is because they've also become quite a bit of buzzwords. You kind of see everybody putting "I'm easy to work with" in a CV and this and that, and now everyone is telling you, okay, don't put it that way, you have to change it around. But interestingly, it's those skills that kind of put you in good stead for that transference, because it's not always and completely that you transfer the technical skills, the hard skills. It's those soft skills that help to move you into that next career phase, especially when it's something completely different from what you were doing in the first place.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Yeah. Dennis is gonna take it up from there, right? But I mean, if you don't take anything home today, I mean, I think you should not underrate the soft skills part of it. I mean, it has really worked for me too personally. I mean, those soft skills are very, very underrated, but they're actually the big deal in job sustainability and helping you to become versatile or transfer your skills from one part to the other. And I also like the fact that you mentioned the basics. So, well, I mean, I don't think there's any coincidence why you have to learn the basics from 1+1=2 before you get to the real part there. So, every time you have a problem in your whatever career you're doing, always think about the basics. I mean, where did I go wrong? What am I trying to do? What did the rule says? What are the principles and all of that? Yeah, Dennis, take it up from there. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah.
You know, to be honest, I think Didi said most of it. I think it's everything about his soft skills.
I agree.
Somebody wise told me that you know, knowing your soft skill is that thing that is going to put you in trouble. That thing you do so well that it puts you in trouble, right? That thing that you do so well that you can get paid for, right? Um, so understanding those soft skills are very, very important. That and what I've come to realize, like in my industry, I find out that yes, technical skills are good, but it's your soft skills that make you stand out, right? Your soft skills make you stand out on how you. Right now, when people ask me, like I say, hey, I'm a connector, and I came to realize that I've always been in that space of connecting people. Right, I've always been in that space of trying to bring people together, or be a peacemaker, whereby I'm always trying to want to understand different groups and try to make sure that everybody works together. Like it's something I've always done. It's something but I never took note of it until at this whole transition time when I was trying to find out what else I needed to do. Did I need to go back to school and do, study something until I got into that program trying to understand those soft skills. But however, I can let you know that my hard skills, like yes, they're important to the growth that I've experienced, but my soft skills have even taken me so much more further, right? Trying to trying to connect different groups together, trying to make people work together, understand what the problems they have, and be able to listen and try to bring out solution, show empathy, be very very inquisitive. I use one word. I said I'm also an explorer, which is one word I got as a geologist, thinking about the projects that I've done, trying to find different things. So in people's lives, in the work that I do in the bank, is one thing I do. I'm also always exploring, always trying to say, hey, have you checked that? Have you done this? What can we do? Or even going back, when at the end of the meeting, to find that, hey, what can my clients, what can help them get to the next step? So trying to explore all those possibilities. And when I show up in those meetings or those places, I show up with lots of solutions. So um, yeah, I don't want to say too much on that, but your soft skills are very very important, and they would make you stand out so much in the industry, and that will bring your value. It's all about that value. I know, like, sometimes, like, where we've grown, there's been this emphasis on hard skills. You need this, like, first class degree. You need this, you need that. But if you have all of that and your soft skills are not good, you're not a good team player. You're right. You're basically not going to be sometimes a good manager as well, because people remember. Think about all the managers you remember, the people you've worked with, so that you remember. Sometimes it wasn't about their hard skills. It was about how they made you feel, how they helped the team. So those are some of the things that I have found that really very useful for me as well.
Yeah, well done. Thank you, Dennis, for more insight. I mean, there's something in common. I like the way you guys, geoscientists, are talking about exploring. I mean, there's always something about exploring, yeah. And exploring your soft skills will always bring you into the limelight as well. Having the right soft skills, right? Empathy. I like that as well. And then, did you also mention something earlier? Don't be afraid to fail. Explore. Then I also like what Dennis mentioned about coming to the table with solutions. Option A, option B, option C. So those are the things that people will normally overlook, but these are the highlights of what takes you into the next journey, into the highlights of your career. And I mean, problem solving skills, empathy, communication, those soft skills are very, very key. And exploring as well, getting a lot of solutions for people on the table. Yeah. So thank you guys for sharing. So having said all of that, that takes me to the next question for those listening, right? So the question is, what strategies or resources do you recommend for upskilling or acquiring new skills to support a career transition? So I feel like a lot of people are in a fixed stage right now. I mean, just like Didi, maybe they're not too sure of where they're going, or but they know that some skills are actually required, or maybe they don't even know that some skills are actually required to get into the next level. So one thing about life is you have to keep learning, right? So now you're going to tell the people listening to us what kind of skills are required, right? What resources do you recommend for upskilling? What acquiring new skills to support a career transition, regardless of what career transition they want to. Maybe when we go into questions and answer, they can be specific about the kind of career transition they want to. But in general, I mean, what do you advise? I mean, you can use your scenario, your story as a case study. Gigi, do you want to go first? Yeah. You're
Okay,
muted.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll use myself as an example. So first things first was, like I said, a bit unsure, but I kind of like knew the things I wanted to do. I also knew that I wanted to learn. So I went for some things that were sort of light. So not going back to school. So formal education is good, but I went for something in, well, semi-formal, I'll not call it informal. So I did a lot of courses and certifications. And one beautiful thing that I was able to do was to join this company, in quotes. And what they did was that they would teach you, but they would also give you work. So it's one of those companies that give you jobs. It's you don't get paid for it, but then you are learning how to apply the skills that you're learning in a sort of on the job situation. I also had to kind of like develop a learning plan for myself. yes, in my case, I had quite a bit of free time because I was working for myself for about 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years. But I still had to have a learning plan because I was working for myself, so I wasn't completely unemployed. Um, but I had to have a learning plan, and I knew there were key things I wanted to, because I knew I didn't want to drop art completely, and I was thinking of things that would segue into the art, into my love of art, but also keep my love of science and tech at the fore. So I had to think about what kind of courses I wanted to do, and I took notes about how these things were helping me in terms of the goals I had for myself. And that was another thing. I had goals. I had to identify what gaps I had. So I looked at my geology and I said, okay, these are the gaps I think I have in geology. And this is possibly why I've fallen out of complete love with geology. Do I want to fill those gaps, or do I want to fill any other gaps I might see? So I identified that I might not necessarily want to go into geology in the same way I was playing in it before. And that now led me to thinking about, okay, so if I don't want that, what do I want? I also felt in my own mind that, that exploration geoscience is also quite niche. So the technical skills I was learning from there were only good for geology, right? And in fact, more specifically, exploration geology is a little tough if you work in the industry to now move from exploration to production or operation to something. So, or development, right? So I knew that I was a little niche. And therefore I started thinking about what else could I do that would not, that would could even transcend geology, or industries, rather, industries and sectors. So did I want to, I thought of human resources. Do you get project management? What would I do that would take me to any company that I wanted to? It didn't have to be oil and gas, but even finance. How would that play into finance? So those were the kind of things I did when I was thinking about upskilling, and then how and transitioning.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Dennis will throw more light on that in the sense that are there specific skills that you really want to recommend to people that, I mean, I understand what it is saying. You need to know what you want to do next for you to go in the direction of the skills you want to upskill. But Dennis, would you want to share some particular specific skills that you actually did? Okay, for someone like me, while I was in geosciences, I knew I was going to go into the move from technical to business, and I ended up doing MBA. But of course, not everybody can go the formal education. Not everybody can go into 1 year or 2 years MBA. So, what are the specific skills that you want to recommend for professionals on this call that if you consider this, this will fetch you, this will take you to where you want to be. Yeah, Dennis, you want to talk about that? Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Like sometimes, like these decisions are based on where you are in your life, right? Um, for me, for example, I want to use my story. So where I was in my life, I thought about, hey, I needed something that I needed to start running on. I needed to, but something I enjoyed doing. So I didn't have to go back to school to do 4 years of school again, or 3 years of school. So that was where I was in my life. I had bills to pay, I had kids to feed, I had all of those sort of things. So I tried to say, okay, hey, what did I need to do? So at that point, that's where I was like, okay, I need to find those transferable skills, and where I could apply them. And at that point, also think about, hey, what did I love, what do I love doing, what makes me tick, um what makes me stand out from other people. So those were some of the things that helped me make that decision. However, um, there are a couple of things out there. There are a couple of things out there. I would say, like the program I did, Higher Landing, can help you. If you're in a workplace, find out, like, do I enjoy doing what I'm doing currently? Is this something that I love to do? Right. And if it's something that you love to do, that's fine. But if it's not something you love to do, you want to do something different, why not just maybe talk to a manager or talk to somebody in that group and find out how you can be relevant to them, or find out how you can let them know what you want to do, and start having those conversations. Maybe they might give you the opportunity to be able to work with them, see how your skills align with them, and in that way you can also build those hard skills that are required for you to operate in those roles as well. So for me, I think those are some points I want to add there. I don't know if I answered your question completely.
Yeah, you did. I mean, but I think when we get into the question and answer, people can be very specific if that particular
Okay.
question is of more interest to them. I mean,
Oh,
they can come in clearly as to what exactly skills they're talking about or what upskill they'll talk about. Yeah, so the thing is, how can professionals handle potential gaps in their skill sets when transitioning to a new career, and what are some effective ways to address these gaps? So this has to do with gaps now. I see our host is online. Do you want to chase us out of the studio? Oh, our time is almost up.
Your time is good. We have some questions online. I wanted to, ask that we please share these questions that people are asking so that we can give them specific responses to it. So I can help you with the first one.
Okay, sure.
Jenny. Jenny says this question is for Edidiong, and she said, you mentioned that you knew or you thought that geology was going to be for life until you transitioned. Please,
Okay.
I want to know what must have brought the thought of transition. In essence, she says, how can I know when it is time to have a transition? Which I find really, really insightful, because some transitions can be forced and
Yeah.
some you
Yes.
will be forced. So take it from there.
Yeah.
I
And we
think the
actually had that
knowing.
as one of our questions. At what point do you feel it's time to
Mhm.
move to the next part of my career?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the knowing is just different things that just happen at the time. Um, Probably need to relocate. You probably therefore have a conversation with the company. Either they don't exist where you're going, or they don't want to transfer you and you really have to go. It's a transition time. Perhaps sometimes it's forced. Yeah, you're not doing well on your job. You're getting really bad ratings on the job for some reason. Either your mind is not in it or your brain is just refusing to expand at the time, and it's time to go. It's sometimes you're just done. You're burned out. I need something new in my life, and yeah. And sometimes that happens, and there's a nice payout, and you're like, you know what, this money ain't bad, so
mm,
I might as well take it and run. Because if I decide to resign, I'll be a little broke, but this gives me a little cushion to think about what it is I want to do. There's just so many reasons why, but I think what's important is that if at any time you begin to feel the need to move, analyze why it is you want to leave, really tear it apart. Don't just up and go, especially if it's not a forced thing, maybe like your health. So really think it through.
mm,
Do your SWOT analysis, right? Make sure you understand what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, what opportunities are out there, what likely threats there are to those opportunities that you would like to take. Really think it through so that you're
mm,
not making a mistake about
mm,
it.
mm,
That's it. Really, there's just not that one thing for everybody that says, oh yeah, this is time to go. Some people it's just, yeah, I need something fresh, something new. In my case, I felt burned out, and I just wanted to not do geology for a bit, and that's why I focused on something that seems like completely far left, which was art initially. But my love for science and tech, and brought me right back into it, right back into the tech aspects of things, and that birthed my new career.
mm.
Mhm. You're
Lawson, I think
muted.
you're muted here.
Anyway, I was amplifying the other question because I didn't want us to recap. Thank you, Didi. Some can be forced. Some you will force yourself. You would uproot yourself out of a situation. The next one, Onome, I'm blowing it up for you. Please go ahead and read.
Yeah, so we're still on okay, so I think this question will still go back to Didi because that transition was very, very vast. It looks like an extreme transition. Okay, so this question first, I'll come back to Didi, sorry. This is for Dennis, and it says I'm a graduate of petroleum engineering, but only have work experience in banking. What skills do I need to transit back to oil and gas sector? So Dennis, yeah, this is for you, and this is from Obinwa. Yeah, I hope the question was clear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because like you have the petroleum,
Yeah.
petroleum engineering, but basically you're working in banking. What skills do you need to get to go back to oil and gas? So, but it depends on what you're going to be doing in oil and gas, right? So if you're going to be going back to petroleum engineering, but you have no experience in petroleum engineering, basically you need an experience in petroleum engineering. So that's going to be the honest truth. Like, so maybe you want to find those starter roles again, and like those rules that get you back to the job. Like maybe internships or something like that, so that you can build those skills that make you employable, right? At petroleum engineering. But however, the other thing I'm going to ask him again is that I know you did engineering, but now you're doing banking. Are there things that you like? Why is it that you want to go back? Right? Do you want to go back because of like at some point in your life, like I'm sure maybe Didi, you got there and realized that money is not everything. Right? The money is not everything. There is, you need to do a job that gives you happiness, that gives you peace, that you wake up every morning and you want to go, right? So if that's the main reason why you're changing, that's fine. But however, if we have so many other reasons that that when they are no longer there, that the job becomes no longer beautiful for us, it's so easy to get very, very frustrated, right? So that's what I'm just going to say to Mr. Obinwa. Like, if you need to go back to engineering, something that you have not practiced, then you have to find a starter role that can help you practice it. So and then when you get into that role, maybe your soft skills will help you, maybe you can accelerate your career, right? You might show that like the skills you've had in banking will become very, very proficient for you as you practice engineering. So that'll be my short answer to that.
Yeah, Didi, you're muted. Are you saying something?
Nodding my head and agreeing. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I do agree as well. I mean, leveraging his current skills in banking to have a subtle transition into the petroleum engineering industry as well. So, like you said, what exactly does he want to do in petroleum? I mean, you don't just jump like that. You have to transcend gradually. I mean, what are your unique skills in banking? Is it being analytical? Is it risk assessment? So those are the things he probably wants to put into check. And then also volunteer as well. So, like you said, is it going about the money, or is it just the fame or the brand, or he just wants to associate himself with an oil company or something? So putting all those things together will give him further clarity and direction as to how to upskill into his new role. Yeah. Do we have further questions?
Yes, we do, but I actually also want to ask for more specificity because the second question is exactly like that. So Dennis, when you moved from petroleum engineering and you moved into the banking sector, you talked about specific skills that helped you. One of it is your ability to see the big picture. But when you talk about tangibility, what does that translate to in the banking sector? Yeah, it is able to see the heart and mind around your customers' demand. It is seeing that, for example, I come to you for investments, you are seeing it's not the short-term game I'm about, it's about the long-term game. So our viewers are asking, this time again in another way, I am a graduate of petroleum engineering who wants to transition to operations management. What skill sets can I learn to set me on track for it? Like, let's be as specific for
Okay.
as possible.
All right. So for I can take this one. So for one, data analysis, right? Data is king, and especially in operations, you want to calculate productivity, efficiency. You need data. So if you learn data analysis, interpretation, visualization, that will stand you in good stead. For example, project management, that will stand you in good stead because you need to be able to oversee um, all the projects that might be going on depending on what type of operations are running. So project management will be a fantastic. Process improvement and efficiency. That's one thing I had to go and learn. I had to learn Lean Six Sigma, and that helps you understand quality management, how to optimize your processes, how to keep them simple and efficient and effective. In operations management, you probably also need to learn inventory management because you have to, and all the concepts around it, like just in time. What's this other one? First, FIFO, LIFO. You're gonna have to learn all of that stuff, right? For how to control the systems in when it comes to inventory, supply chain management, right? You have to be familiar with it because that's what guides everything around operations, how you use your logistics to move things from one space to the other, whether it's intercompany, intra-company, from so how you deal with your suppliers, how you make sure that they deliver to you on time, and what possible disruptions could come in. You probably will need to learn leadership, leadership and communication, because communication is very key. If you're going into management at that point in time, you're kind of like overseeing a lot of stuff. How you communicate, communicating clearly, communicating the communication channels you use, the time for communications, delegation, and then just understanding how to be a leader. You also need problem solving because there's going to be loads and loads of things that you're going to have to step into, and agility. So agile decision making. And that, of course, will be backed by your data, because your data, whatever insights you get from your data, will help you to make the right operations/business decisions. You also need to learn strategy at some level, not deep strategic objectives to run the entire company, but for your team, you will need to understand what strategies will work and at what time. You need to learn to quickly pivot even when they're not working. You need to understand time management and flexibility. So yeah, I think those are some of the things I'd say for transitioning to operations management.
You've just given us a full course outline.
And for me, and sorry, I don't know if I can add to that as well. Because the other thing I was just going to ask to Imabong, who asked the question, is that why do you want to transition into operations management, right? Is it the same, like, it's one question we always ask, why? What is the value you're going to do there? What is the value you're going to bring to the table? Like, there are many people who are going to do strategy. There are many people who are going to do, all those other stuff. But what is my value? What is it that I bring to the table that makes me more unique than everybody else? Are you doing it from that standpoint, or are you doing it like based on the fact that, well, this is where there are new jobs now, let me just jump into there because of their jobs there? So I would pass that back to Imabong to just say, hey, why do you want to do it? Then if you understand why, your why is the driving factor to it. So why I want to do operations management, because I'm very good at strategy, because I see the big picture, I can help with this, I can make this happen. If you can sell that, I believe that when you go into organizations, say, hey, this is the value I bring, all those other hard skills you're going to learn, because of, even though you've done the Sigma in school, you might the application in that organization might be different. So you're still going to learn to do that. But however, those soft skills behind them are things that will make you excel.
Yeah, I know Tubosun is coming for me, but then in your current okay, that's fine. Yeah, so so it's good that you actually even have something you're doing currently. So in your current role, how can you relate with operations, right? Are you finding a uniqueness? Are you finding a gap in that particular role that can be filled? Are you seeing an opportunity in the operations manager, seeing a gap in transition? Like, okay, I think this can be done better. Oh, I think I like what they do, but it can be, we can bring in some more new insights into this, or there are more technology that can ensure efficiency in these current operations that we are running. So if you have something you're bringing to the table, then it's okay for you to transit and acquire the necessary skills. So the why, this also links back to the why. Why are you going into
Yeah.
you relate
The
to
why is really important because that's what drives you, right? What keeps you when everything is not rosy because you know there's a why behind it, right? It's
Yeah.
like the most important thing. The first thing you do is create your own personal vision and your mission statement. That's your
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
I just want to call your attention to the fact that a why can also be, it can be that you are moving for socio-economic reason. You can actually move job transition because you want a better pay, and you can move because you are tired and you don't have sometimes the why. And Didier and Dennis and Onome has shared this. The why can be as tangible, and sometimes it can be so ephemeral you can't even put it together,
Yeah.
right? You just know that there is a reason why you think you need to leave, and finding a new job with a better pay, as simple as that sound, can it be a perfect why? Yeah. So we
Yeah,
don't give
will the
off.
pay sustain you in this new role that you're going to? So that's arguable,
Exactly.
actually. Will the
Yeah.
pay sustain you? Because for every organization you're going to, if you're not bringing anything to the table, they will only pay you for a while. I mean, and it's
And then
then
you
could as
get off.
well bring up an AI to do what you're doing because it's very boxed up. So
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted us, because we have younger audience and at the same time older audience who may not have that clarity as to their why and pitching their value together to
Yeah.
recognize sometimes seeking for higher can be a why. And
I mean, you're allowed to stumble in the dark for a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm.
It's
the
no
real
hard
level.
and fast rule in life. Life is dynamic. People are learning things at 60. People are starting companies at 50. People are going back to school at 50, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting, and interesting when you find yourself in that space, so that the things that open up for you, and very, very, very correct, Didier, and Tuba, so how life experiences actually change us. So one thing I've learned again is that who I am today is different from who I was when I was 20, who I was when I was
Yeah.
25. My life experiences, what I found, like and I'm sure that like for many, I would say like many Nigerian men, how many people even know what they want to become at 25? Like like apart from the ones your parents told you to do, you have to be a doctor, you have to be this, so life experiences change you. But for what I've come to find is that right now in the space I play, because of I do this so well, many other doors are opening up for me, right? Yeah, people have said, hey, like, are you going to run for mayor, or are you going to in public relations and stakeholder management and all that? And that's because of everybody begins to see that, hey, your skills that you've showed so much here can be applicable in those areas where they need you. So it's more of your value now showing up in those spaces. Right. So yeah.
that a little bit, right? Because I'm really keen as to explaining why we call it transitions and not transition. Yeah, because this will keep evolving. But you mentioned a very important point around sometimes it's even people calling your attention to, are you thinking of transiting? Are you seeing your next step? So
Mm.
you know, probably the both of you want to share more on in instances where it begins to be, oh, you are in a place, your values or maybe your core skills now known, you know it, and people are calling your attention to, don't you think, how do you explore those kind of changes? Because that's different from a career change. This is more around you being a professional evolving into yourself. How would you advise career professionals to evolve into such changes?
Yeah, it's just to add, just like what we've said before, sometimes this can be forced. But that's where I think sometimes that, I always say there's a difference between a manager and a leader, right? A leader is always looking at your best interest, trying to say, hey, I know you want to be a petroleum engineer or reservoir engineer in our company, But I think you should not be a reservoir engineer. You should be in public relations, because the person is looking at, like, I think you bring so much value to that table. However, if I'm a young engineer or a geologist, I was like, no, I want to become chief geologist. That is why I went to school, to become geologist. So you telling me I should go be in public relations, you're really upsetting me, or for me, it's a failure of my career goals, right? So sometimes I think that, as like I feel like managers or leaders have that responsibility to be able to look within people they work with and say, hey, based on what I see, I think this is and this is why I think so, right? So that people do not just take it as like some sort of negative feedback, right? Saying, oh, like, oh, they don't want me here, or I'm not doing very well. But if you can put that together and let people know, people can understand. And for you as a person, when everybody is saying that, I think that you need to look inwards to say, hey, let me take some steps backwards, right? Why have they said this? Why have they said that? I know most times, most people see that if you're asked to change, it's more for what's it called? Is the what do you call it in HR now? Like more on the, trying to like align you to, like, okay, maybe we'll take you to that place and that'll be your way out. But that shouldn't be the case. I think people should be put in places that, it's just like, say, round pegs fit and round holes better, right? So for you, do the same thing. If you're getting that feedback, I want you to, ask people around you, not just the managers, your peers. What do you see in me? Why would you employ me? Actually, your like, if I was going to work for you, why would you employ me? You'll be so surprised. People will say, I'm not going to employ you because it's for you to be a geologist for me. I'm going to employ you to be making strategy for me because you're a great thinker, right? And one thing I've come to realize again is that I'm one of those guys who lead by following. Like, I know my team very well. I know what they're going through. I know what everybody's doing well, right? So I might not. So when I go to these meetings and all that, like, everybody wants to get, Dennis, what do you think? What's your idea about this? Because of like, you're not the leader, but basically you're actually a leader because of everybody knows the strategy you can bring on the table. So yeah, that would be my contribution to that. Talk to people around you. There, even all this online stuff. There's all this free online like questionnaires you can take that can give you a profile of you, and try to say, hey, we think you will do better in this. You do better in this. You may be doing a technical skills, or maybe more on the managerial side, that sort of thing. I think those are some of the things that can help as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So in other words, what you're trying to say is know where your strength lies, and if you don't know it, you can leverage on people who you work with closely to help you to understand where your strength lies. And okay.
Onome, I like you're a good articulator. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Brings it together. So if I would add on to that, right? Like, yeah, listen to what people have to say. Learn to sit back and reflect on what people have said. So I've always kind of known I'd be an artist, because, to some extent, because I have always loved art from when I was a kid, and then we have artists in my family. However, I don't ever think that it would be my full-time job, but I have heard people tell me that they think it's going to be. But then again, I have other things that other people have told me. I've been told I'm going to work in CNN. Hey, that ain't happening. But hey, Jesus, if you're hearing me, maybe. So, so really do listen to other people. Sit back and reflect and think about, why would this person think that I could do this job? There's something that person is seeing that you probably aren't seeing. Also listen to yourself. Your intuition will push you sometimes in the right direction, and you just don't realize it. And it will be nudging you. And that is also, I'd say that ties into pattern recognition. There's some things that you just notice that when people call for that, your face lights up, you want to be a part of it, you're ready to volunteer. Watch out for those two, because that would probably steer you in a certain direction. That one of those for me, I know, is art. Like, literally, if you ask me anything about art, my eyes light up, I'm so animated.
the introvert goes into the dustbin, and I'm just, so I know art is one thing. What I do not need to know is how to leverage it, maybe for, to make money so I can pay my bills, that's what I'm saying.
You
But
eat
and then explore, especially young. When you're young, explore. That's one thing I kind of have to big up Gen Zs for, like that whole jump 2 years, do that's the time, right? Stop thinking about, do pay your bills. I mean, some of us first kids, we had to be serious, but I mean, if you happen to be a second, a third, or fourth, and you have the leeway, then please explore, do courses, do on the job, like you can see another role, you hear about it, ask your supervisor, hey, can I, sit for 2 weeks or a month with this other person and understand what their role is saying. Those are the ways you begin to see what else is there, right? If you can afford to take a gap year, take 6 months off the job and just, use 1 month to literally lie in bed and just think about all the, vegetate, and then come up for air and start playing with all the many things that would, because I mean, here in Nigeria, we don't do gap years after like secondary school, which some people do abroad. So a lot of us are just programmed to go, secondary school, university, job. This you don't have time to think and breathe. So if you have that opportunity and you can afford to take it, those are the kinds of ways you start seeing where it is I might be able to play in, other than what it is I think I did in school. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with fulfilling that desire, because that's why I moved from HSC to exploration. I was like, nope, I cannot have gone for 4 full years, right? And not done it. So
yes, thank you. We're winding down. The host was already giving me some signals like, hey. Yeah, so okay, so we'll probably just wrap up at this point, right? So thank you very much, Didi, and thank you for Dennis for the insightful questions. Yeah, so just one last one, and we'll speak to this, then you just give a final closing remark. I mean, more like an advice for those out there, and say, well, I mean, I'll take your advice. Don't be afraid to stumble. Just go in there, do it afraid, right? Don't. I mean, we're all explorers one way or the other. So go out there and explore. Yeah, but before I take your closing remark, let's just help this person that says, please, is career growth does it have necessarily to be the same as career transitions when you leverage your current skills being sorted out for your industry? I'm not too clear about that questions, but I can figure out somebody saying career growth and career transitions, are they the same thing in the same industry? I mean, do you have clarity?
Can I help you there? And Didi and Dennis already knows this. So think about you moving within an organization in different ways. I mean, we do this, we call it broadening. So when you're broadening, how do you deal with that? That's the question.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I thought I was on mute. Yeah. So career growth and career transition, like, if you think about it, like career growth could mean career transition, but it could not be as well. So it depends on what your personal goals are, right? So people say, like, what I was even going to say is that, like, here in Canada, like, you're like, people stay in a job for like maximum 3 to 5 years, and everybody just moves to the next thing and to the next thing. So they didn't get to senior manager at this, but they have gone back to this other, another role and starting up again and doing something new. So would you say that is career growth? For some other person it might not be career growth, but for them, that's transition has led to their growth because of they're a broader person, they know more, and every experience they've had from their previous job, they're going to put into the new job to make it better, right? So I think that would be my contribution to that question.
Yeah, so what I think, yeah, so I mean, Dennis has said it, they're kind of different, but one is, one could lead to the other, but what the other doesn't, right? So in terms of growth, it tends to usually be within your field, like you're on that thing and you're growing, right? But a transition is, I'm now shifting away from what I know and going into something different. I can leverage on growth across industries, but I may not be able to.
But once it's a transition, you're generally shifting from the former role to a new role. And in such cases, you have to research the new field that you're going into, what the requirements are, what the job market outlook is, what challenges you might likely face there before you do that transition. But in terms of growth, you would have already kind of done that, right? And you just know that, oh, I want to these are the kind of skills and competencies I want to acquire as I go along that career ladder. And so you're looking for more development activities and on the job learning and training that will take you up that particular ladder.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. So we'll give out it's been very, very insightful, very interesting today as well. And I'm sure most of the questions from the question segments were actually well answered and well articulated. Yeah, so these are the names of our speakers. You can add them up on LinkedIn, and I mean, throw out more questions to them. They'll be very willing to answer your questions. Yeah, so for me, the take home, and we'll all give our final take home to people, right? And I'm borrowing my words from Didi and my lessons from today. Do not be afraid. I mean, it's okay to stumble while you're trying to transitions because you're really not very clear as to where you're going to, but you're clear that you really want to transition. There's a burning passion in you, so keep going. And then I also like the fact that she mentioned some skills that you can use that you can leverage on for your career transitions. I mean, and she gave a scenario with somebody who wanted to go into operations management, and she listed out a very detailed course module. Probably you should consider that. Because that was so detailed that I was like, so what's left? Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, you talked about process management, efficiency, and even much more that I did in business school. Actually, that was so detailed. Yeah, I'm sure if that person takes that seriously, then you won't go wrong. Yeah. Then yeah, thank you very much, Denise. It was quite very interesting. I like how you related some courses that you have to take along the line while you're trying to transition. And I like the fact that you were always giving yourself. So it was in the place of giving, that was where you found your strength and that was where you found your value proposition, and it ended up for you and got you sustainability. And I like the fact that you were not fixed to a point. You didn't say, no, it has to be geosciences. You knew that you had skills in business, you knew you had skills in banking. While you were in geosciences, you were still helping people solve their risk analysis problem, advising them on financial investments, and you found yourself transiting, leveraging your current skills. So I'm sure this is well said. I mean, thank you very much. One word for everybody out there, Didi. One word, Dennis.
Okay, so from me, I'll just say your career is like a plant,
Mm.
right? I'm a plant killer, but please don't kill your plants. In terms of growth, nurture it. It makes it grow taller and stronger. And in terms of transitioning, that's you now transplanting the plant, right? Which is either moving it to a new pot, like a completely different field, or just different skills, which is, like transferring it to new soil and then the sunshine, the requirements you need to thrive in that new environment. And ultimately, whatever it is, remember that both career growth and transition, and in our case, as we're conversing on transition, can be very rewarding experiences. You'll be surprised at how much you enjoy your new career and feel a little guilty that you don't miss the old one. So that's it.
Yeah, true.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you so much. Sounded like the scripture that says, nurture your trees, and if you're not bringing out fruit, we'll cut you off. I mean, I don't mean to be religious here, but those things are all just linked up one way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one
Yeah.
last word for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, and for me, I'm just gonna say career transition is something that is happening right now. Like, it's something that has come to stay. Like I know this, like back in the days, people wanted to grow down, up the ladder, which is still happening. But career transition has come to stay, and it's something that is going to be happening, and based on people's circumstances in life, either you're moving or you're forced to or something has happened. So think about it, because we just don't know, right? If you think about all the divestments, even in oil and gas, like happens and all that. Today you have a job, tomorrow you're moving to something else. So just be ready. So for when those things happen, and the last thing I just want to say, know your value. When you know your value is that your value is that vehicle that will help you in those transitions. Your values, your purpose, what you can bring to the table, why an employer should have you. I think those things are very, very important, and you'll be surprised, you'll be amazed at where they will lead you to. I found it's interesting. You'll be so I found so much fulfillment, in the last 8 years doing banking than I'll compare to my 15 years in geology. Like, I'm so proud to say it. So
That break.
yeah. So everybody just have an open mind, have a growth mindset. That's another thing I think that can help. So thank you. Yeah.
Please, can we give our speakers and our moderator a thumbs up, a love, a whatever? That don't give the down thumb. Just say thank you so much. Thank you. Amazing presentation. If you have been watching the comment section, there have been so many nice things said about you. Julius says, Joe Banker, hi Eddie. They were greeting you. Ibukun says, indeed, a Joe Banker. We had a lot of interactions here. Soft skills are very important. The questions that were asked. Then we also had Emeka Boago, who is the CEO of Petland, drop in to say he also transitioned into entrepreneurship because he realized the value creation he was giving to suppliers could as well be harnessed when and if, and now he has ventured. Things around you sometimes push you or drive you, and your ability to see these opportunities is very key. Joy Emmanuel says, thank you, Madam Edidiong. Obinwa says, thank you, Dennis, for the answer to the question, and so much. Like, there's a lot of thank you there. Insightful comments, insightful section, very insightful. Thank you very much. I can go on and on and on and on, but this is my way of saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And nobody could have done this better. Very recap. Appreciate it. We're running along. This is the first time we are going to be later than 12:30. So I'm going to please crave your indulgence. Our speakers are going to wait in the back room, but I'm going to please crave your indulgence. We have a few more announcements for you. These are very important as to what we're doing. And I also like to bring up our sponsor. Our sponsor now is represented by Adango Arth, who is the GM operations for Cypher Crescent. It will take a minute. I think his network just dropped off. But he will be here to tell us about Cypher Crescent and the amazing work that is going on there. While we wait for Adango, I want to share with you the amazing work we are doing at ProAlly, and this one has to do with the Nexus community. I talked about it before the speakers came online as to the whole idea behind Nexus. So Nexus is the community, and I'm going to share my screen in a minute. Good. Let me know when you see this slide. I guess you can. Great. So Nexus is really our community to teach energy and STEM students and fresh graduates power skill, right? Everything Dennis, Edidiong, and Onome has spoken about today is around build your power skill, find your why, find what makes you different, your unique selling points, your unique value proposition. This is what we are bringing in here. It's going to be cohort based. So why do you have to join it? Because we don't want you to be late into the game. We are living in a global world. Dennis mentioned an example where people do 3 to 5 years and they're on to the next thing. They are harnessing a lot of skill sets, and then they put all of this together to evolve into who they are. We don't want you to be late. We recognize that emerging countries like Nigeria and other countries in Africa have unique challenges around curriculum development. So this is one way of us democratizing the opportunity as early as when you're back in school. The overview is really for us to build a network for students. So you're not in your university and thinking that the world starts and ends with you and your geology or your geophysics or your petroleum engineering. We want to also let you spread out, see people, meet different, ideas, be able to learn about team collaboration, being able to profile you for opportunities, and also to solicit, network that will work to your advantage. The benefits are in this slide. The networking opportunity that I've spoken about, the skills development. We'll also be creating very specific mentorship and guidance across all of the sector, and the learning resources that will stay with you for life. I'm not going to talk about the other slide, but just to show you, it's cohort based. We have weekly planned events. Our faculties are ready and they are excited to have you here. The immediate cohort, which will be the first one, is starting very soon, and there's a link in the comment section. Please sign up. It's not an automatic registration, but we want you to sign up first. And while I've been mentioning around Nigerian universities, if you are also in Africa and you feel the need to be a part of this and you will benefit from this, please feel free to register your interest. We will ensure that we prioritize as much as possible people in Nigeria, but you can be sure that we would also prioritize you alongside. So we look forward to having you sign up. Thank you for all your interactions today. We definitely have been, in my normal balance, I was going to say we have definitely been blessed, and we have been blessed indeed. We have been really blessed indeed. So I see that Avango is back. I'm going to bring him up stage now to share with us about Cypher Crescent, the amazing work that is going on there, and then we'll wrap this session up. So bringing you up stage, I don't know which to bring, but I'm going to just add this. Let me know when you can speak. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tubosin. I hope is the right one you brought. I don't. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That works.
But we can't see you yet. Great. So I brought the right one. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So I think for us at Cypher Crescent, first of all, is to say a big good afternoon to everyone that was able to join this STEAM event today. First to the esteemed speakers. I learned a lot from your wealth of experience, and absolutely agree with what we have discussed so far. Also, I greet the esteemed participants as well as the organizers of this event. Yeah, so on behalf of Cypher Crescent, it's with really immense pride and honor that we want to express our gratitude to Pro Ally, the organizers of this event, whose team really revolve around what we do, leveraging your current skills for career transitions. Yeah, we are fight. Okay. Yeah, our excitement amplified at the beginning when I heard Tubosun mention that this is the 8th in the series and the first sponsored. That even gave us even more pride in associating with them Pro Ally. Okay, so I think not to recap what the speakers have already said, but we firmly believe at Cypher Crescent that continuous learning, professional development, embracing principles of skill, adaptability, and career transition is really key. And individuals that are able to master this can basically unlock a new avenues for growth, and also true potential, maximizing their true potential and contribute to a lot of projects, across various sectors. All right, so they are not just tied to a particular sector or to a particular skill. So it's just a process of continuous learning. I think one of the speakers mentioned about the ability to adapt and cross easily across sectors, picking up skills, which of course by the end of the day, those skills we can be able to maximize and use. All right. So I think the summary of it all is that we are really honored to be a part of this event. It truly aligns. It really aligns seamlessly with our core values of fostering innovation, which is what we are very much known for in the industry, and we have achieved in the upstream sector. And now we are scaling into other sectors as well. We also firmly believe in nurturing individuals as well as talents and empowering professionals to navigate the ever-changing and dynamic tides that we find in the current workforce or landscape. Yeah. So it is our hope that the insights that have been shared by the speakers, I think also by the host as well and the moderator, yeah, as well as the useful questions that we are asked on the channels, that we're able to all harness it, use it to forge forward, all right, and use it also as a stepping stones, yeah, to embark on exciting new career journeys. So from us at Cypher Crescent, I think just to cap it up is to say thank you once again, and we wish you all a productive, enriching, and transformative experience in our career. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
The network is really, really bad at my end. I don't know, I can see you clapping, but I can barely hear.
I reckon that's static, but we heard you clearly for most of the time. So, but thank you for fostering innovation across all of the sectors. Thank you, Cypher Crescent. And we'll share more details to our participants around the great work that you're doing as we share, post-event communication with them. So I'm going to leave you with this because we are 6 minutes past. I'll say thank you for joining. Keep the hope alive. The energy transition and the technological transitions that we are seeing are a product of good work. There are people who have been ahead of us fostering this change, sometimes even enabling this change. But your part in the story that is unfolding is that you do great work. So make your great work count by first understanding why you are doing what you're doing, amplifying the impact of your work, and enjoying the process. The topic around career transitions today actually highlights to you the importance of enjoying the process of your work. It's going to evolve every time. Sometimes it's going to be forced. Some is going to be you making the change. But whatever the change is, your skill sets that you're getting today counts for all that you would ever be. So make it work. Back to the Nexus, I'm going to leave you, and this is how we'll close the show for today. I'm going to leave you with a short video around the Nexus community and also use that to say bye for now and see you in June. Thank you for every time. Bye.